Hello and welcome to my video. Big painting, painted years ago. I've never been happy with it, and I'm going to try and improve it. So I'm going to be working on foliage and sky, but before you work on foliage, it's always a good idea to get the sky organised first. Of course, I haven't been to the brush shop for quite some time. I'm going to be struggling to find a small brush. In fact, this is the smallest I can find, which is 6 centimetres. 6 centimetres being that big. It's not very big, really. And all I'm going to do is just try to be a bit inventive. And I'm using maybe in a few places a tube of paint that was left here by Zorre. Or donated to me by Zorre, not left here. It sounds like a mistake if it's left. It's what's it called? It's called Cobalt Violet Deep, and it's Le Franc-Bourgeois. It's got quite an odd texture to it. It's very thick, but not thick and dry. It's thick and oily, almost greasy. So experimentally, what are we going to do? To start with, it's going to look a bit silly. They always do, and it's almost like glazing this, but I can just sort of put this colour on here, and this is purely to pull the landscape into the sky. So let's try something like that. Now it doesn't matter that I'm covering these trees here. In fact, I can cover them completely, because by now I think everyone knows how glazing works, and you just take the paint off, but I don't want to take off too much. That's just to show you that you can do that. I'm going to put the paint on first and not worry about taking anything off, because I actually want these trees to sit way back, and the way to do that is to mute them. It might even look like nice just left like that. Who knows? Cat hair. Right. So whatever you do with this colour. Oh, before I go on, before I talk about before I use this colour, I was looking at some Turners earlier, because it doesn't matter how long I've looked at Turner paintings and his skies, it's still, strangely enough, quite difficult to let go enough to actually do one successfully, or what I perceive to be successful. They are completely wild. So you really have to paint first, well, as if no one is looking. That always helps. And as I usually say, as if you don't care. You just got to sort of do it. Every single painting has to go through the messy stage. Now, actually, these trees are still showing through there, and I quite like that. Can I actually see? No, I can't see. I have to get my eyes tested again, I think. That's it. Now, to make it look even more wild, I'm going to get a bit of, what should we use? Let's have a little bit of orange Vermilion, and just sort of chuck it in a few places. So I'm trying to build up a patina. If you look at any Turner sky, you can see that it's done over quite a lot of sittings. He didn't just, I don't think, well, I'm pretty sure that the people that analyse his pictures know this. He didn't paint in one sitting. He did watercolour sketches in one sitting, but his oil paintings were done over an extended period because he wanted stuff to dry. And there are certain things you can't do with wet paint. Can't believe the amount of cat hair that's coming off this painting. Now, this tree, as I said, it's like an egg shape, which is just not interesting visually. it's a little bit sort of static. So I'm going to leave a little bit of a space where I think the shape of the tree will go. When I've done that, I'll get some foliage textures going in there. And if I think it works with these pushed back in the mist, I might leave the base of the trees where they are. If it doesn't quite work, I'll overpaint all that stuff and bring the tree trunks right down to the water. And it's not difficult to do. These are just a little bit of white paint here, probably put on with a rigger. We'll see. So a little something for later up there. I have a photograph of this, I think, so I've got a good before and after image. Did I photograph it? I probably have somewhere. Okay. So I'm building up a sort of mixture of colours that I hope will look good in the end. I think they will. Let's try putting a bit more. A little bit of blue. No, too soon. Get that out of the way. Not ready for blue yet. In fact, I might not even add any blue. See how it goes. I quite like the idea of a very warm sky. I'm quite into warm skies at the moment. So I think I'll extend that across. It's a sort of how do I explain it? White, yellow, and orange vermilion. It's like a sort of bubblegum colour, pink bubblegum almost. Doesn't mean to say it'll always be that colour. So let's have something bright there. We'll need that. And then we'll carry that one over there. Doesn't matter that I'm taking out that tree trunk, because that'll all change. Might even lose that tree completely there. Let's get rid of it. And just sort of scumble it in. Get a bit more yellow in there, I think. And probably slightly more vermilion. Now that tree there at the edge, the edge, or the end of the picture, I would put there as a stopper. And I'm not sure that it's going to need a stopper, so we might eliminate that. But it's always there. See, if I change my mind, I can get it back. So the transition between this colour and that colour don't want to be perfect. Make it as messy as you can. I mean, if you make it really tidy and crisp, it means that you're restricting yourself. If you make it flexible, well, it just works. Simple as that, really. A bit more yellow and orange. A bit more white. As soon as I can, I've been saying it for lots of videos now. I'm going to organise a camera to point at the palette as soon as I can figure out the technology and also the distance involved. I mean, I don't think I could do it live in a Zoom class. Maybe I could. I might have to try and figure that out. Or just set up a camera so that it's recording non-stop and then splice it in later, maybe. I don't know. Okay, so that shape is sort of irrelevant. It doesn't have to be that shape. I haven't deliberately done that. I've just made it uneven so that I've given myself scope. The final tree, which will be done quite soon, will dictate what that shape is. So we've got a narrow bit. Let's take that further in there. Right. even more orange, vermilion and yellow. So we've gone quite red there, so let's go quite red here. Well, sort of red. Right, let's have a look there. I don't think I'm making too big a shadow. So what shape shall I make the tree? Well, I think if it's closer, it's going to be a massive tree, isn't it? Let's have a little think here. So I think it's going to be sort of like, let's have it anvil shaped. So the sky will be out here somewhere. So the tree's going to be out there leaning across that way. Maybe I will leave it there. And then I'll do something else with the land below, perhaps. Okay, so let's go slightly nuts up here. And you probably noticed, same as usual, I'm not using a vast amount of paint. It's a good thing about oil paint, you see, you get absolutely brilliant coverage. You can basically overpaint anything. And in fact, I'm going to throw in some of this this colour. Now I'm going to just show you a close-up of the palette that's got this violet, cobalt violet. I don't know how that's going to come across, but it's this colour here, that one there, and the pale violet-y colour either side of the blob in the middle is just by adding a little bit of white to it, that's all, nothing else. This isn't the entire palette. The actual palette is a big sheet of glass, which I couldn't lift anyway. So I'm going to add that colour to the one that I've already mixed. Let's just see what we get. So up here, quick look in the camera again. Yeah, you can see that. Now that's interesting because that's actually not quite that powerful, but anyway. Okay, I'm going to point the camera down just a bit, well up, to bring the picture down, and maybe make it slightly wider. There we go. Right, so this is it. Again, this is my quest to get some ternary effects. Well, don't get me wrong, I always go on about Turner, but it doesn't mean to say I think all of his stuff is wonderful. Some of his paintings leave me a bit cold sometimes. It's almost like he makes them too contrasty. He'll suddenly put a lump of yellow or red in the sky, and it just doesn't seem to quite go. Right, let's get a little bit more of that. There we go. Right. Well, I've got the first bit of paint on my new easel there. Now this is not a bad easel. It arrived the other day. They even gave me a screwdriver. And to say it was fiddly is an understatement. Some of the working drawings that they put in the package didn't make much sense. But we got there. And it's a bit like, I go in the other room, you see, where I pack up pictures to put in the post. And the cat instantly follows me, because if I'm packing something, she wants to escape. So she tries to get in whatever I'm packing. But if I'm building something on the table, she has to sit there on the bit that I'm trying to negotiate, and just stares at me. Not quite sure why. Right, so here we are. Let's have another lump up there. That's picked up an extra bit of the violet colour there, which is okay. A few lumps of another colour won't hurt. This is a good mindset to get into when you're doing anything like this. If you're working on sky, and something might happen. You might put a colour on there and you might think, oh, I've got to get that off. You don't necessarily have to get it off. I mean, for instance, if I just get some pure orange and I do that, and you may think, well, that looks out of place, but the thing to do is to get it back into place. You don't have to take it off, leave it on, and you'll be surprised at how, if you're loose enough with it, how it can just add to the overall, great word, I like it, I always use this word, patina. It makes the paint interesting, just in case the subject matter isn't. And right, so again, this colour with, let's just have a few blobs of this violet colour, just chuck it in there, and then let's put in what else should we put in? Let's put in some red ochre, brown in the sky. It's subtle, because once you introduce a lighter colour to red ochre, it turns into a sort of pinky colour, which I'm after really. I like, I'm getting into light skies, not necessarily just all completely light, but lighter than I've been doing. So that's the same colour there with a lump of brown in it. I'm going to be doing a lot of walking back and forth here to see it from a distance. That's still okay. Right. Now all this stuff all the work I did previously on the sky is not lost. You see, when I've got this colour all over it, I can just introduce that back just by wiping a little bit. We'll see how that goes. So I've got a shape. Keep an eye on the shapes that I'm making. Got like an arch there, quite a subtle arch. Let's carry that on, because I quite like that effect. The good thing about this easel, incidentally, this easel, I've never heard of them make before, but its company name up there is Viswin, V-I-S-W-I-N. Got quite some good reviews that I saw, but it's okay for the price. It's just over 130 euros, I think, something like that. But it'll take a painting 6 feet high and a bit, I think. I haven't actually done a proper measurement on that, but and it's quite sturdy. But I think they've all basically got a bit of wobble in them. Now going back to the tree, this shape here, you see I've left that bit there because that'll actually be tree there, and then I'll figure out something over here too. Not sure what yet, but it'll be okay. You must have confidence. I insist it's okay. There's a bit of blue showing there, so I'm just going to put a tiny little bit of this colour on it because I quite like that showing through. And there's just enough paint around here. I mean, it's, you know, unbelievably thin paint. So I'm in no danger of getting any kind of build-up and muddy effect. So when I start to work on the tree, which will have more paint, it'll have more paint than the sky, that will mix in with this sky colour, and you'll quite like the effect that gives, I hope. You've probably seen it before, but you're going to see it again. If, of course, you are actually still watching the video. Right, so I'm going to... So if you haven't subscribed yet, please hit the subscribe button, because it feeds me and my cat. More important, the cat. But that's how YouTubers survive. So, and also hit the bell icon, and that'll tell you when I put up a new video. Right, that's that over with. Okay, so this colour, I'm just going to carry on with that. And of course, one of the good things about a really big painting like this is that it's hard for me to get in the way. I probably managed a couple of times, but it does make it harder for me. Okay, all right. What else? Let's have a little tiny hint of orange just there. Very subtle, that. Okay. So let's have a look at the painting again. What am I going to do? Okay, that's very blue there. I'm going to cover that in a minute, but I'm just having a little think out loud here. Along here, let's just, while I'm thinking, I'll just show you how you can, I went over these trees very roughly. If I change my mind, you see, I can do that. And they basically come back. Same with these trees here. I can just sort of do that a few times. And I quite like this ghosty effect, because I mean, it's nice for people to look at them when it's finished, but really I want people to look at the sky and also this tree, which is in the sort of golden spot here. So I can just strengthen these trees just a little bit, just by removing a bit of paint. Don't do it carefully. Don't do anything carefully at this stage. I think to contrast this, which will look considerably darker next to it, so we're going to have a cloudy-like shape without painting a cloud. Just there, very roughly to the edge of the tree. It's going to be a very odd-shaped tree. In fact, the tree's going to hang out over this way, and then there's going to be some spindly tree trunks coming down from it over there. Okie doke. Now there will be some places where I'm going to want a really bright light showing next to the tree. It's just one of those little tricks that helps paintings. So I've got to figure out exactly where that's going to be. And it could be low behind the base of the tree. So I'll just add a bit of light down there for now. Reasonably, well, no, I hate to say it, but reasonably finished. In other words, I'm being careful to keep that little patch of light quite pure without too many brush marks. It's very small at the moment. It will be bigger. And it's just the same colours as the orange vermilion and the yellow, although the yellow is reduced right down now. And oops. It tends to work well if you do this. Let's just exaggerate it a bit. There's a nice light patch there. It tends to be the other side as well. Okay, so we just put a little hint of light just over that side. It doesn't have to be, I'm not following a line, it's just putting it on there. The line doesn't exist. Okay, nice little bit of light tucked down on the horizon. Okay, let me think. Should we do that? No, I'm going to keep it high because maybe it's the sun. Okay, right. Probably would be the sun, wouldn't it? Okay, a little bit more up there. So what I was thinking for the next painting, it'll take a bit of organising, because the one thing about France, if I need a large piece of board to paint on, I'm limited by what I can get in my car. I don't really want to hire a van or anything, but because I just don't want to. There's no other reason really. It's a lot of trouble, and of course you've got to take the van back. They don't like it if you keep it. So, right, I'm just putting a bit of Payne's grey into this too. So, what I want to do is a painting that's about 6 foot by 9 foot, or whatever the biggest sheet of plywood I can get is, which may be, of course it's metric here, it may be 4 by 8 metres, something like that. It's just an idea in my head. It would probably be a slightly time-lapse type video because it would just be too long otherwise. Okay, so I've greyed this colour up a little bit, so I'm just going to sort of put something up there. Again, I'm coming close to where the tree is, but you know, I'm not being precise at all. Right, I think we want more of that. And one thing I will say is when you're painting like this, personally, I know there will be people that will disagree, but don't measure anything. Do it by feel and face the consequences. If you're at the, you know, one of these types that has to measure everything, get the proportions exact. I mean, I don't know where you're getting the proportions from if you do that sort of thing, but it's always better with painting and drawing, I think. It's by eye. It's all about what. It's not what do they say? It's not what you you don't paint to show people what you see. You paint to teach people to see, and probably their way. So I hope that makes some kind of sense. You want to encourage people to interpret the thing in their own way. A little bit more there. Now, if I do this, you see, I've got a darker colour. If I just show you, you've got those little light bits at the top. You see, now because I've already painted them, they look as though they are. Can you even see it? Maybe. Well, you will later when I photograph it. But the idea is that the darker cloud is in front, and then there's a little view over the top of the cloud up there, where you can see that stuff going on way up in the distance. I'll try and make that more obvious, but that's not a priority at the moment. I want to start on the tree. Okay, so I'm bringing that down. A little hint of a bit of a storm there, because I can't help it. Okay, so that's sort of there without actually painting a cloud. All I'm doing is that, you know. Take the cloud out of the equation. Okay, right, I'm not going to do much more to that sky now, because I think I've got what I want around the edge. So it's a question of making that look something like a tree now. And this hedge line maybe not so much here. I quite like that now, but as it comes across there, I may darken it up a bit and sort of make the top edge a little bit more varied. See what we get. Okay, so let's put that colour there. Right, so the tree colour, it's going to be dark because it's against a light sky. It won't be totally dark. The trick with trees is to make the profile of the tree believable. No lollipops on sticks. Sap green, red ochre, Payne's grey. So what I'm going to do now is invent a tree. First of all, let's get some colour on the middle there. Right, so I hope that's showing up. That's quite dark. I want it dark. Now, how do you invent a tree? Usually, just by doing that. And you just keep a mental note on how many times you go up and down, up and down, up and down. Okay, so you don't want a repetitive line around the edge of your tree. Every now and then it's got to do something slightly crazy. when you touch the wet paint very lightly, like that, it gives the feeling of less foliage, less foliage and more twigs. Right, I just want to fill an area now, so let's just fill that a little bit. Don't forget to leave a few sky holes so that you don't end up just with a blob. It was too blobby before, which is probably mostly because I just never finished it. I can't remember. I think this might have been a Zoom, no, I beg your pardon. This might have been a YouTube video, but so, there are so many now. It takes a long time to delve through the past and try and find them. Okay. So now, if I hadn't painted the sky, I'd be having a big problem when I come to put the sky on, because what would I do? I'd have to get a little brush to paint between all the branches. Okay, I'm not going to do that. And this way, they interact much better. So I've got light. I'll show you what the reason why I have that light there. So to get the feeling of roundness, okay, because even though that's a bunch of trees there, the middle part is usually the bit that's closest to us. As you approach the edges, they're further away, obviously. It's like, you know, that's why in college they have you drawing things like cylinders, so that you understand how to make things in the middle look closer to you and things on the edge look further away. So, and it helps with, you know, limbs as well, arms, legs, or heads even. And it works for trees. So when I put some colour down here, I'm not going to worry about these tree trunks at the moment. We'll just sort of solidify that. Like so. So now if I take the brush and I start doing exactly what I was doing up there, without getting in the way, and then literally just push it into that colour, you get that effect. Okay, so you can, hopefully, yeah, you can see the effect that we're getting there. Now you may think it's just a little thing, but I'll make it bigger. I'll, as they say, embiggen it. So top of the tree line first, so that I don't have to actually endanger any of the... It doesn't matter about the further away bits. These are the important bits here. So I'll just sort of finalise the top of this hedge line or tree line or whatever it is. Just make that sort of interesting. And it will become interesting because it's mixing with the sky colour. It's almost impossible to ruin this. Just make sure that the top edge is interesting. It's a very hard word to define, isn't it? Interesting. It's got to grab you without being necessarily over obvious. It's just got to have enough going on to make you want to look at it. So we've got one line which is slightly, make sure you're getting all of that. Yeah, we've got the top line which is slightly faint because it's mixing with the paint, and then by turning the brush around I can put another line below that which adds another layer to the picture, and that can come down there like so, and then across, and then you can sort of do whatever you want with it basically. It can come right down to the ground there for now, don't know. Maybe I won't, maybe I'll let it gradually fade away. I think that's tidier. Okay, colour's not overly important at the moment, it's a brownish colour. But I was driving the other day and I noticed that this time of the year a lot of tree lumps do look quite brown. I know the leaves dropped off and all that, but even the evergreens look sort of brown. A little hint of a tree trunk there, might leave that, why not? Another one on the other side. Just got to check how far I'm going to go before I disappear off the picture. Just put my hand there. Okay, so the bit you missed there, only a slight bit, but so basically came along here, this shape, which you don't want to mirror the behind shape too closely. I did, so I'll just unmirror that. Put a lump there in the darker bit. There we are, just a hint of something. And let's just scumble these. It looks like steps going down there, so let's mess that up a bit. There we go. Right, so this effect now, I'm going to increase this so that this tree comes in front more. So what should we do? Let's get some a tiny bit of a little bit more red ochre in it. So not only is that bit going to stick out, I've also got to make it look interesting and as if the light is catching the edge of the branch. So let's just have a test dab up there. Okay. Right, so what should we do? Now I got this technique that I use, basically, which means I hold the brush, whoops, where are we? Yeah, like that. And I just wiggle my middle finger like that. It's like a battery-operated tree creation tool. And then I just sort of rotate. So I wonder whether I should sit on a chair. I might be pushing my luck with my back. Although I have to say, I've had 2 years now without putting my back out. It seems that whatever was wrong with it isn't now. Okay, so there we are. There's some little hints. Now I'm going to pull them right over into the sky colour. Turn the brush around. See, this edge of the brush here has got sky colour on it. This edge doesn't. My finger now does, but there you go. So I can just turn the brush around and I can get some stronger paint onto the picture. Like that. So we're basically going from pale to darker. And it's a question of being unpredictable. Just sort of, you know, rather than just stay in one spot, move about, go up to a completely different part of the tree and just sort of have a little dab up there. See what we get. Okay, so I'm going to take this tree even further out. And again, the main body of the tree, which is not going to be staying that colour, it will have lighter green on it when I get the paper onto it. Lighter at the edge, darker as you go that way. And keep your eye open. While I'm doing this, you see, I'm looking for little things that weren't planned that are worth hanging on to, where you get a little avenue of light going up in the tree. Sounds really inconspicuous, but once you get an eye for spotting them, they actually, you know, you get a good payback. Of course, I've drawn a face there. I always do, can't help it. Okay. Let's go and have a look. Yep, there's a face. It's bound to turn up eventually. I'll get rid of that in a moment. Slightly more green on the brush. All I'm after is an effect there that looks like fragmented foliage, but you don't have to do it all with the brush. As I said, I'll be using paper in a while, and that'll with light green, and I'll be putting in sort of masses of foliage area that catch the light. But for now, what I want to do is just get rid of the sort of, I don't know how you're seeing it on the video, but this is actually quite a blue colour where I haven't painted here, and I don't want that. I probably just plonked that on there when I painted the original picture, thinking one day I'll go back to that. So now we've got this colour mixing with the sky again over there, because I've already applied the sky colour with a little insect. Get off. So just to speed things up a bit, I'm just going to get over all this blue stuff. Working out into the sky colour. I'm mindful of that light spot, chucking light up there under the tree too. That's, whoops, didn't want that though. Okay, so now here, as I push into that light, we'll get even more of that effect. And I'll later when we're chatting, I'll show you a photo of one of my paintings. You've all seen it before. It's like a little stream coming along the bottom, and it's got an avenue between trees over this way. And I used that method to paint the trees, and it came out quite very well on that. Okay, so there we are. I'm not worried too much about any kind of detail here. Next thing, while I've done that, is just to sort of do this hedge line the way I fiddled that one, and I'll probably go for the same quite simple effect. So at the moment it's very loose, and that was deliberate at the beginning, but I quite like the effect the other side of the tree, so all I'm going to do is just this. Try and go for mysterious. Good. Now, some of the original painting is showing through there, so you're getting almost ghost image of tree trunks, which I actually like, so I'm going to leave that. Right, so left and right I'm reasonably happy. So the next thing is to get this tree to look more like a tree, and it's looking reasonably tree-ish. But okay, when I've got the well, actually no, I'll zoom in. I'll just centralise it a bit so you can see what I'm going to do with the foliage effect. Now if you look at the overall profile of the tree, in other words the outline, none of it is too predictable. There's one bit I'm slightly uncomfortable with, and you might have spotted it, but it's that shape there. You will get that in nature, but because it's actually in nature doesn't mean to say it'll look particularly wonderful in a painting. The rest of the tree's got a nice feathery sort of look to it. That's okay for the moment. So just a little bit of paint on there just to sort of break that down a bit. There we are. Slightly more feathery, still not quite what I want. So we'll exaggerate it. That's more what I want. Okay. It's a little bit Renaissance, but there you go. Okay, so that's the sort of guts of the tree. So this is the next bit's going to be interesting because I'm going to be doing this on wet paint. And all I'm going to do when I find it is get some light green, which I've put in the same place where I always put stuff where I need to remember where I put it. I'll probably cut this out. Where on earth did I put the light? Oh, there it is, right. Okay, it's called light green. Comes out the tube ready-made. Just to repeat something I've said before, some people say that you should mix everything on the palette and then put it on the painting. It's just not true. I don't know how to explain it politely, but okay, I'll be blunt. It's a sort of snobbish way of explaining it. Like, you know, I'm so clever, I'm going to mix all my colours perfectly on the palette without checking how they go next to other colours, and that's what you've got to do. You don't have to do that. There are actually no rules. Make them up as you go along. If it works, that's a new rule. If it doesn't work, it's not a rule for you. Let's put it that way. So find what works for you. Don't listen too much to what people say, except me. And even then you don't have to. I might be talking my way out of viewers. I might have to edit all of that out. Okay, so light green. What I'm doing, I'm spreading out light green on the palette. All I've done is use a palette knife to make a flat area of green. I don't want any oil because there's already oil on the painting. So all I'm going to do with a piece of paper is stick it in it, dab it in it, and end up with a piece of paper with some light green on it. No mystery. And then I have no idea quite what's going to happen. So I'm just going to sort of fiddle with it and see. Let's start down the bottom there. So if I do that, what will I get? I get leaves. But don't go dab, dab, dab. Dab, turn, dab, turn, dab. Always keep it rotating so that you don't get any kind of repeat pattern. Now when you've got something happening, which I have there, don't go over it again. I'll have to repeat that in a second. Right, I'm just going to do a close-up of this area and then I'll zoom back so you see the whole thing. Right, check focus. Good. Okay, it's already looking a bit speckly, but that could be due to some light bouncing across the painting, but actually no, it's not. It's texture. So again, stick the bit of paper in the green and then just go for it and think to yourself, what do branches and leaves do? Lots of trees have branches that just go up like that, you know, but usually in the lower area there's something else growing around there, or there are younger branches that don't necessarily go straight up, they actually hang down, and that's quite a nice effect to get if you can get it to work like so. There we are, there's some hanging down leaves over a shadow at the base of the tree. And then basically make it as untidy as you can. I don't mean by going, you know, squish, don't do that. Keep the paper varied, so I just folded up the paper, rolled it over, so I've got an area that's clean. So I can put some more light green on that. And let's see if we can make a bit of a mess down there with some foliage. Might be a bit there that's really catching the light, just there. And some over there as well, because, you know, nature is unbelievably untidy. Okay, I think that's possibly enough to give you an idea. So we've got leaves. Let's just extend that up a little bit further, and then I'll back up. Okay, so we've got a sky hole just there. So what's the light going to do? As it approaches the sky hole, depends where this light's coming from. It could be bouncing off a cloud that you can't even see. So you know, you don't have to say the sun's over there, therefore shadows always have to go that way. It's not the same. Clouds do all kinds of stuff with light. So don't pay too much attention from light direction. Generally, yes, but don't be what's the word? Don't be too finicky with it. So as this light comes through that tree hole, which I might increase later, I don't know, depends whether I want an easy life. The light may be coming down through there onto these, so that those may go up right next to it like that. Okay, let's see how that looks. Yep, that's okay. So I'm going to move the camera back and then basically work on the tree as quickly as I can. It's one of those things that I always get a better result if I work fast on that stuff. In fact, I'm going to put light on the tree, but I'm not going to go completely nuts with it. I quite like the sort of quite simple approach, but I do like a little bit of textured leaves. Just, you know, understate it. Let's put it that way. So we've got a bit of light there. Let's have a few little bits. Oh, that's way too much. Let's just try and salvage that. Yep. So I'm hitting it with clean paper just to sort of mute that a little bit. That's good. Let's have a few bits up there. I'm thinking to myself, where do I want to lead people? How much can I move over without getting in the way? Okay, there. Now the other way you can do this, you can also add a bit of white to the green, because you know some leaves have like a silvery effect, and you might get a sort of sparkle of white. So don't be afraid to put in a few. One or two just down there. Up here, I'm going to keep it quite subtle. In other words, I'm not going to cover that entire limb with green spots, just a few. So have a little bit there, a bit here. Some kind of corridor of light coming down. Okay. Now that bit of paper's had it. It doesn't look as though I've done much to it, but that's probably enough. I think that's enough dabbing from that. I quite like the overall simplicity. Yeah, happy with that. Happy bunny. However, there's always a however. I do like a messy hedge. Now, I know I've got a generally simple hedge there, but I think a few just along here could be quite nice. Sort of connects the tree to the planet a bit better. Just a few little things growing up. The odd random one doesn't hurt too. That looks nice and busy in there. Am I ecstatic? I've been ecstatica, but there you go, it's okay. I know I come out with funny words every now and then, but it's just something I've always done. I like to invent words. I'm sort of working on my gibberish. Okay, right, go back to the camera. Right, it needs a little bit of light to bring you down there. A bit more. It needs some... Am I still in view? Yep. Needs a few hints just over there. Getting a bit repetitive there, so I'll just muck that up a bit. Yeah, I think that, in fact, that's all I'll do. That's good. Now the other side of the picture, I'm going to carry that seam across, but not a lot. Just, in fact, I can see exactly where I'm going to put it. I've got a slightly odd shape there. I mean, it's only odd in that I didn't paint it. It's just there. It's just sort of accidental. So all I'll do is just put a few bits of that over it. It's very minor, but it sort of seems to look good. Okay, so the ghost image of the trees over on the left, that seems to be working quite nicely. I'll move the camera in a sec. I've got to get used to the idea of cleaning my hands before I touch the camera, because eventually I'll have to shovel it off. Right, let's have a look at the whole thing. Oh yes, I know it. Yes, right, okay. Now if I can find a working rigger, could be more difficult than I expected, because I've got to get to the shops. Let's try this. I've always liked this effect. Don't ask me why, because I have no idea. And that is the thin, scrawny branches, tree trunks rather. Right, so the odd spindly tree trunk come out, because this is, it could be one tree, probably, you know, lots of trees growing clumps. So this one's going to have a few little connections to the ground, because this part here could be the canopy of another tree. Or I could put a branch that comes right down there and across and goes back. Let's try that. So I'm working on wet paint, but because I'm using a rigger, I have to put some oil into this paint. Normally I wouldn't. I would just I'd approach it a different way, but the good thing about riggers is they release the paint in a good even flow. However, if you think it won't work and you're doing something like this, you can always use the paper method and do a light coloured trunk. But I'm not going to on this one. So one of my favourite ways to do these things is to work from the top down. People, lots of people, not everybody, think that when you're painting a tree, you've got to paint the trunk and work your way up the way the tree grows. You don't have to do that. So hold the brush right on the end, like so. Don't be rigid at all, and then put in a nice wandering line that gradually gets slightly thicker as it comes down to the ground. Picks up the sky, gives you a nice light coloured tree trunk where it goes against the dark colour. The alternative to that is frightening. I'll cut that out. It's not that frightening. But there you are. There's a slick way. I'm going to add more now because I've started. It's quite difficult to stop, but we'll work on that. Okay, so there's a long spindly branch. I want another trunk rather. I want a branch coming from it. Okay, because its chances are. I mean, you do get trees that grow like that, and they, you know, they end up dead, and it's just like a spike in the ground. But I don't really want that. So I'm going to very lightly bring a branch down to connect with it somewhere about there. So again, it's a twig, no big fat trunks. Okay, this is a spindly tree. So There we are. And because my hand isn't near to the painting, and it's literally, it's like it's on a spring. It's like it's sprung. Okay, think of it as a wheel. Imagine there's a wheel on the end there. And the touch on the painting, so that you don't gouge into the paint too much, has to be as light as, I don't know how to explain it, just as light as possible. So we've got one Y shape, which I really don't like, but it's actually quite difficult to get rid of these Y shapes. It just happens. So we'll have a hint of something in there, unbelievably subtle. One there, and as I go onto this paint, because it's slightly thicker, well, as I move down, I turn the brush. That puts new paint towards the paint surface. Every time you do it, though, get more paint. Make sure that your rigger is very, very pointed at the end. Let's have a branch that didn't make it. So something's going to come in from down here very lightly, so you won't see it. Get thicker, and then join the trunk. I was going to do a lot of these, but I think I'll just go with that one, I think. Do I really mean that? Well, yeah, I guess, I'm not going to push it. I'm going to stop it on that. Right, so back to the rest of this. Now, there's water. Because of the distance between there and the water, you would see a bit of this in the water. Now, I did that originally, like I've got some tone in here. I don't want to do that again, so what I'll do is I'll leave that as it is. So when I originally painted the tree, I put a hint of a reflection in the water. And it's quite a subtle one, because, well, that's the way I tend to do them. However, rather than redo that, what I'll do is add brightness to the water there and here, so that will make the actual reflection that I've painted look darker. I may darken it a bit, I don't know, but that might be another sitting. But for the water, I think we might use a palette knife for that. The question is which one. Let's have that one. Okay, so this is the usual, my usual water type rendition. Oh my God, there's even a cat's hair in that. Straight out the tube, and it's got cat hair in it. But I wouldn't have it any other way. Okay, so to make that look brighter, it's actually not that difficult to do. And that is just to, as I said, I've got a reddish colour there, but up here it gets lighter. Chances are the reflection would probably just be a little bit of light there. How much of this can I do without getting in the way? Good. So all I'm going to do, keeping this light area in mind, because we've got to figure that into the reflection, so it'll be slightly more reflecty there. So all I'm going to do is just brighten that up. It's not that easy because this painting has got a lot of paint down in this area. Now I'm going to put that on, not too carefully, and then once it's on, I'll go over it with a blush. I'll go with a brush and sort of soften it. So that's sort of the guts, just a hint of a bit of water catching the light, a bit of light catching the water there. Do you ever get your merds waddled? So that's really all I'm going to do there, because I don't want it to trail off the edge. So you can see the other side of the tree, good. So over here again, that little point there, down here, let's have a little bit more light just there. Don't have to go mad with it, because I'm not very bothered whether people look down here too much anyway. It's sort of sky and the tree and the stuff there, hopefully. Okay, so I'm not using a lot of paint and taking absolutely no care whatsoever. Let's take a little bit off that side, slop it over there. And all I'm going to do is find a highly expendable brush This one's very expendable, and all I'm going to do is soften it. Now, do I need to zoom in on that a little bit? It's one of these things that literally takes just a second. Because I don't want it to be over important. All I'm going to do is just sort of soften it generally so it looks as though it's got a bit of a glow to it. I might add some of that colour to it, but as usual, maybe when it's dry. So that's got a slight sheen to it, and then the same this side, which I think you still can see. Yes, good. And that's that. That, because of the angles, that may not appear in the reflection. I'll know after staring at it for a few days. I'm going to just try adding some of that pinky colour. Hardly any paint. Just a hint of it there and there. That's all. Right, it's called local colour. I don't like bright garish reflections. That's sort of reasonable. Okay, well I think we may almost be there. The only other thing I could do, just so you can see it done, if I just zoom back, well I won't actually, I'll stay there. You see behind the orangey colour that I put up there, no actually I quite like it like that. However, focus again. Right. Is that going to fall off? No. If you wanted some white to show through, you could just paint white on it, or you just get a bit of paper, preferably that doesn't have any green on it, and then just pull a bit back. I'll just do it on, say, this cloud here. So if I want that one to have a bit more white in it, all I've got to do is just take off some of the pinky colour just there. Do I even want to keep that? Oh no, it looks like a comet. Just need a dinosaur down the bottom looking up at it. So I'll find the original brush. Just put it back just to knock that down. I don't need to go over this with a big brush to blur anything because it's just not necessary on this sort of sky, I think. So there we go. When I photograph it, it'll be interesting to see how the trees in the mist on the left-hand side actually hold up, because they're very, very, very subtle. Those. Let's zoom in just for a quick look on them, at them. Well, I think that's all right. Quite mysterious. Ooh, spotted something I don't like there. Okay, I'll just fix that and then we're done. Just a reminder, if you're still here, if you've liked the video, if you just click on that thing that's going to appear on the screen, I would appreciate it very much. So one last little touch before I go, and that is to do something there. There's something about that I don't like, and sometimes it's difficult to explain. What is it I don't like? It's the very minor edge there. You might think, is it worth even bothering about? Yep. All I want to do is just soften it, just a little touch like that. And that will do me. So there we are. If you want to come to classes in the future, there's a link below. If you'd like to actually come to France, there'll be a link to my website which gives you all the information and the extortionate costs. What else? Hope you've liked it, hope you've learned something, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.